What's up everyone, this is All Talk is Tech, and in iOS 11, Apple actually stopped the use of support for 32-bit apps. So 32-bit apps no longer work in iOS 11. You can only use 64-bit apps. Whenever you open a 32-bit app and try to use it, you're going to get this little pop-up telling you that the developer needs to update the app before you can use it. Okay, so if you're still on iOS 10, this is what it will look like when an app doesn't currently have support for iOS 11. It basically says that the developer needs to make an update or change so that you can at least use the app in iOS 11 when you update. So the way to tell what apps you can and cannot use in iOS 11 is to go to Settings, General, About, and then tap on Apps, and these are the apps that will not work in iOS 11. So it kind of stinks that all these apps are being removed. Now, this app right here is probably one of my favorite games. This game is called Nova. So Nova is a great 3D graphics intensive game that lets you run around and shoot people. It's so fun. It reminds me a lot of Halo, and it has multiplayer, and on top of that it's got its own campaign. Now, this game is so fun to play. I used to play this at school in class with my friends. We'd go on like an online world and just shoot each other. It was so much fun. But one of my favorite features was the gyroscope. It had this feature where you can move the iPhone and that would also move the crosshairs on the screen. This made aiming so accurate, and on top of that, it made you focus less on the controls and more on the game itself. This other app was really fun to play, but we can no longer play it because it's not supported in iOS 11. So you can see that the point of the game is to dodge these spikes, and then you can move the bricks on the screen or the dotted lines to dodge these spikes. So it's a pretty easy concept, but it gets really hard. Now, this next app is probably my favorite recording app ever. It has an incredible software stabilization feature, so that way when you shake your phone, it barely even notices the fact that you're shaking it, and it does a great job of making the phone stable. On top of that, it has this incredible slow zoom effect, and once you do fully zoom up all the way, the quality stays the same. The quality does not get worse when you use the stock photo app. I don't know how this works, but basically, usually when you zoom up on a photo, it gets all distorted and stuff, but on here, it looks 100% the same. I don't know how they do it, but this app even has a built-in video editor. So this was my go-to camera app, but now it's just a stock Apple one. Now, this next app has a little bit of history that I want to go over. So basically, back on iOS 6 on my iPod Touch, there was a version of this app. It was basically like Swiftly themes or iSkins, but on the App Store before that. It was really cool back on iOS 6 because you could add themes to your device, but the app cost money. So what the developer used to do was, once you bought the app, eventually he would remove the app from the app stores. That way, if you ever deleted it, you could never get it back. And then what he would do is he'd go under a different name and put the app back up on the app store. So when you did find it again, you had to repay for the app. So he did this about 3 or 4 times, and what ended up happening was, I think the developer was caught doing this because he was basically robbing people every time they deleted the app. I think it was caught doing this, and the app was removed for about a year or so, or at least I couldn't find it for a year or so, or there were like copies of it, and I think this is a copy of it, but it still doesn't work to this day. But this is the 32-bit version, and it still doesn't work. So regardless of whether this is a fake or not, it's sad to see that this app is no longer working because it brought back a lot of cool memories. This next app is an emulator app. It allows you to play old Mario games and stuff. This was actually on the App Store. I'm surprised it was never taken down. It's been on there for about a year. Usually Apple takes down emulators because it violates a lot of terms of service and things like that, legal issues. But this app was really fun to use because you could play old Mario games, sort of like the one with like Donkey Kong and Mario running up the stairs, or like the beams or whatever those things were. That was a fun game to play, but it no longer works because it's a 32-bit app. This next one is a more modern version of the app I just mentioned. It's called New Gamepad. It's not in the App Store, but it allows you to play like Mario Kart and DS games. It's so fun. It's a multi-emulator app. Think of Happy Chick, but just in a different layout. Now, this next app is my favorite. I remember discovering this on vacation on iOS 7, and I thought this was the coolest thing ever. I came across this app, and what you can do is you can actually change the color of the dock. So you can go and choose any color you want, and then from here you save it to a photo, and then you set that photo as your wallpaper. But this app is no longer supported in iOS 11, and I really think that this app should be, because it's such a cool thing to have. You can really customize your device with this. It's just sad to see that all these apps are not being maintained and updated to work on iOS 11. So the whole point of this video was to show you some apps that I think that I'm personally going to miss, and I know some of these are not popular apps. You probably have never even heard of these, or you may have at least heard of one, but point of this video was to show you how to check for these apps, how to see whether or not they will be removed or not, so that way when you do get iOS 11 you're prepared for the worst. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and as always, peace.